Tonight on CFTK-TV, a new deal has been made in Haida Gwaii. Passengers speak on the Delta flight crash in Toronto and how housing starts are up around Canada.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, I'm Damien Smith. Thank you for joining us here on CFTK-TV. To begin with Northwest news, the federal government and the Haida Nation recently signed an historic agreement that recognizes Aboriginal title over in Haida Gwaii. The Big Tide Haida Tidal Lands Agreement affirms that the Haida now have title over the island's lands, beds of freshwater bodies, and foreshores to the low tide mark. Council of the Haida Nation President Jason Alsop said that the deal represents a move from an era of denial, occupation, and resistance to a new one of peaceful coexistence and recognition. The agreement comes more than 2 decades after the Council of the Haida Nation launched a legal challenge against Canada and the province, seeking a declaration of Aboriginal title. And Prime Minister Trudeau was also there to sign the deal, with this being one of his final appearances in his last few weeks as Canada's leader.
It marks the beginning of a new chapter in the relationship between the Haida Nation and the Government of Canada. A new chapter that commits the government to partner as true equals with the Haida Nation. A new chapter that enshrines the right of the Haida to control their own destiny.
Moving over to Terrace, after Skeena MLA Claire Rattay was elected this past October, she says that one of her first moves on the job was to fix the local bus stop at the Nukasian Regional Hospital. And here's Jaylene Matthews of CFTK-TV with the details.
The bus wasn't stopping at the hospital. That's what MLA Claire Rattay said was causing issues for people trying to access care.
They hadn't moved the bus stop. So I had a number of elderly people, many of which had severe difficulties walking, that were actually going out to Terrace from Kitimat about 3-4 times a week for dialysis treatments. And they were taking the public bus and they had to walk 4 blocks in the ice and snow to be able to access the hospital, and that was just completely unacceptable. So we worked with BC Transit, and they were awesome to work with. They have moved the bus stop, they've changed the bus routes, they've made sure that people have been accommodated.
Rattay says that although this hurdle's been overcome, there's actually a greater issue at play.
I'm trying to look into a alternative option right now for people that have to travel from Kitimat to the Terrace Hospital, and I'd like to also approach it looking at the Nass area as well and seeing if there's a way to create some kind of a dedicated bus system for people that need to go for dialysis and oncology treatments, particularly because they tend to be frequently, you've got to go a few times a week. Obviously the costs associated with that can be quite overwhelming if you're having to drive, and taking public transit when you're feeling unwell is really just not ideal. I wouldn't want that for anybody in my family. So I'd like to see something that's more of a dedicated bus service that would be focused on those people. So that's kind of one thing that I'm working on, and it was a good feeling to finally get something. Feel like I really got something accomplished that was making a difference, even if it is just getting a bus stop changed. That was kind of my first real feeling like I was able to make a difference. So it was a good feeling.
For CFTK TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
Now, this past Friday, a memorial walk aimed to raise awareness about the plight of those missing and murdered across Canada. And after the walk, some of the groups stopped by the studio to talk about the event and the cause. Once again, here's Jaylene Matthews.
The Women's Memorial March took place Friday to honor the lives of missing and murdered women, girls, men, and boys across Canada.
It's very powerful to see things like that. I have dual emotions going on because I'm very honored to be a part of it, but I'm also the subject and why we're there is really tough. Like, it's really, really tough. I myself don't have children, but I couldn't imagine ever having to go through not knowing where your son or daughter is, or your sister.
Lorna Brown and her family began raising awareness for the cause when her niece, Tamara Chipman, went missing from Prince Rupert in September 2005.
Yeah, I felt like it was a really great turnout. We had Aboriginal Front Door came in from Vancouver to support the Highway of Tears. They know that we're often forgotten about on the Highway of Tears here.
Along with founding Tears to Hope, Brown and her family have organized many awareness walks, as well as the annual Tears to Hope relay. She says the best way to learn from others is to hear their stories directly.
Some of the students that came out didn't even know that their own grandmother, was murdered, before they were even born. And to see those youth out there, sharing those stories of their grandmother that they didn't even get to meet, and now they're out there raising that awareness, it was pretty powerful.
Despite Brown's extensive work in raising awareness over almost 20 years, her niece Tamara has yet to be found.
It's hard, right? Because you know why people are doing it, and all these people here, it's their families, and we all have some family that's either been murdered or missing, but to hear the drums, how the meaning of the drum is the heartbeat, and I guess I just felt between the drumming and seeing the families and knowing that they're doing a special presentation for Lorna's brother, and I just I find it overwhelming in many ways but at the same time feel honored to be part of it.
For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
And moving over to Kitimat, where another one of the RCMP's weekly reports was just released, with it covering the first few weeks of February. Of note, police got word about a vehicle located in the middle of Highway 37, just north the Kitimat River Bridge, that had parked in the middle of the road and also had its airbags deployed as well. Responding officers discovered that the vehicle's driver had swerved in order to try and avoid hitting an animal, but the vehicle still ended up clipping the animal, and while the driver was determined to not be seriously hurt at a nearby hospital, the vehicle ended up damaged by the incident and the animal wasn't able to be found either. We now move on to Prince Rupert, where Mayor Herb Pond provided an update on the boil water notice, which has been an ongoing issue for the city since the month of November. And here's Kale Maslin of CFTK-TV, who has that report.
It's no secret that the city of Prince Rupert has had more than its fair share of issues when it comes to their water and sewage system as of late, with the issues in question even leading to the city instituting a boil water notice that has been in place since late November of last year. The last posted update on the notice from the city came out back on January 14th, where it was said that the notice was being extended for another 4 to 6 weeks due to a new water supply main that was being installed, resulting in some water sitting for too long in an isolated section of pipe. While a recent interview with Prince Rupert Mayor Herb Pond did give some insight into what's going on at the moment, his statement was not quite as conclusive as some may have hoped it was.
We are going to learn very soon when this particular round will be off. They originally talked about somewhere in the end of February. We don't have an update at this time, but unfortunately, that any time we spend off the boil water advisory will probably be fairly short-lived. Just the nature of what happens when you just start serving old pipes.
Pond did also acknowledge that he understands the challenges that local families, seniors, and businesses like hotels are facing due to the advisory, but he also said that going on and off of water advisories will likely be constant while infrastructure repairs are happening, and that the city's main challenge is trying to ensure the advisories don't last super long. Boil water advisories mean that people must boil their water for at least a minute and then place it in a storage container before doing things like cooking and brushing their teeth. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin.
Now on to a quick recap of the playoffs for the Central Interior Hockey League, where this past weekend saw the next major matchups in the playoffs get determined. In the Eastern Conference, the Williams Lake Stampeders won their series against the Smithers Steelheads after a 10-2 blowout win. And in the Western Conference, the Hazelton Wolverines tied up their series against the Prince Rupert Rampage with a 5-3 victory before winning again 6-3 to advance. And the conference finals are now set up with the Stampeders facing the Quesnel Kangaroos in the East, and the West will see the Wolverines against the Terrace River Kings. Coming up next, we are now less than 3 weeks away from finding out who will be leading the Liberal Party. Welcome back to CFTK-TV. Well, we are now under 3 weeks away from finding out who the next leader of the Liberal Party will be, with the final entrance fee installments being made for all 5 candidates. Here is Rachel Aiello over in Ottawa to give us more.
With 20 days to go, the lineup of candidates looking to replace Justin Trudeau is solidifying. Representatives from the campaigns of Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, Karina Gold, Frank Baylis, and Ruby Dalla have all confirmed their final entrance fee installments have been or will be made by the end of the day. And while it's a 5-person race at this stage, the rival Conservatives are already honing in on who they see as the frontrunner.
The Conservatives, for all intents and purposes, have told Canadians Mark Carney is the one to beat.
It got support from
Still working the U.S. airwaves over the weekend, today Freeland unveiled her 10-point housing plan in a statement. Freeland is promising to cut municipal red tape and tie the number of new immigrants to the housing supply. Baylis also released on paper today his plan for Canadian energy security. Candidates will be squaring off on their stances on policies such as these in Montreal next week. The party is holding 2 leadership debates, in French first on Monday and then an English debate on Tuesday. In such a condensed race, political analysts say the candidates fighting Carney for the spotlight will have to walk a fine line.
If he is the clear frontrunner, if he may be sitting in the Prime Minister's chair in just 3-4 weeks and he's confronting the challenge of Donald Trump and Pierre Poilievre, how hard do you, as a Liberal rival, want to go at him now?
The party has told me that by meeting today's payment deadline, the 5 candidates will be eligible to be on the ballot and on stage for those debates, which will be moderated by 2 former journalists.
And now we move on to our local weather forecast for tonight and for the week ahead. Tonight in Prince Rupert, it should be cloudy with rain beginning sometime earlier in the evening. There should be winds coming from the southeast at 20 kilometers per hour, except from the northeast at 70 kilometers per hour near the valleys and inlets, and there should be a low of +3. Terrace and Kitimat will just have clouds tonight, but then the snow will arrive overnight along with winds from the north at 30 kilometers per hour, increasing to 50 at times. There should be a low of -3, but with a wind chill of -10. The Bulkley Valley should be partially cloudy, followed by lighter snow after midnight with about 2 centimeters in total. Light winds at 15 kilometers per hour and a low of -12 with a wind chill of -15 in the evening time. Onto your weekly weather forecast. The colder temperatures are done. However, that means that it will not be seen for the next little while. On the north coast, you will see rain and showers this week with steady temperatures, with +9 being the high on Friday and Saturday, while the low will be 4 degrees tomorrow. Terrace and Kitimat will have some snow for the rest of the week, but expect the rain to start on Friday night with a slight bump in temperature for the weekend. The high will be +6 on Saturday and the low will be -2 tomorrow night. Finally, even the Bulkley Valley won't be seeing the sun at all, with similar patterns to Terrace and Kitimat, except substitute snow with flurries and rain with showers. And the high will be +7 on Saturday, while the low will be -7 tomorrow night. Now we take a look at your Northwest Roadside Report. For additional updates, make sure to check out drybc.ca. Highway 16, there are slippery sections from Prince Rupert to Doreen, compact snow from Doreen to Walcott, winter operations between Doughty and Smithers, and slippery sections from Walcott to Sheraton. Highway 37 has slippery sections from Terrace to Kitimat, compact snow between Kitwanga and the Yukon border, and bridge maintenance in Misiat Junction. Highway 37A has compact snow. Highway 118 has compact snow. The Nisga'a Highway has slippery sections, and Telegraph Creek Road has compact snow. And these are what the cameras were looking like from around the Northwest. Still to come, passengers on the Delta flight speak out about their experience. Hello again. Well, just 24 hours later, we're receiving more updates on the plane crash in Toronto. With over 80 passengers on board, originally flying from Minneapolis, it was a shocking day for those on board, and some have even spoke out about their experience. Before that, let's touch in with Adrian Gabriel of CTV News.
The flickering lights behind me mark the spot where an active investigation is taking place tonight. Flights resumed at about 5 this evening. That's approximately 3 hours after the crash and the ground stoppage here at Pearson Airport. While there were no fatalities, things could have been much worse.
Everything, drop it. Come on.
Passenger video from inside Delta Airlines Flight 4819 shows the chaos in the cabin.
Holy
A scramble to escape onto the snowy runway after the crash landing at Toronto's Pearson International Airport.
Oh, I was just on this plane.
Just seconds before, the plane was cleared to land. Here's the audio from air traffic control.
Clear to land, 23, Endeavour, 4819. This airplane just crashed, 23.
We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down.
Life flight 1 minute back, just so you are, there's people outside walking around the aircraft there. Yeah, we've got it. The aircraft there's upside down and burning.
The crash sending plumes of black smoke shooting into the sky. The wings of the CRJ-900 sheared off, and the body of the aircraft turned completely upside down.
Toronto. We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down.
And when we hit, it was just a super hard, like I hit the ground and the plane went sideways. And I believe we skidded like on our side and then flipped over on our back. Where we ended up, there was like a big fireball out this left side of the plane. And then everybody was just like, get out, get out, get out. We could smell like jet fuel. Even now I smell like jet fuel.
Air and ground ambulances raced to the crash site. After initial reports that multiple passengers were in critical condition, the Greater Toronto Airport Authority tonight sharing an update that none of the 17 injured are listed as critical. The Canadian-made Bombardier jet is a workhorse for short-haul flights worldwide. A question for investigators now is how and why did the plane lose at least one wing on landing, then flip over, causing jet fuel to spill onto the snowy runway. They'll also be looking at if weather, particularly gusty winds, could have played a factor. In a statement, Delta says our primary focus is taking care of those impacted. The flight was carrying a total of 80 people that included 76 passengers and 4 crew. Toronto's Airport Authority has warned passengers there could be delays for multiple days as 2 runways remain closed for the investigation, which is being led by Canada's Transportation Safety Board, with American investigators on their way here to Toronto to assist.
And now we take a look at the stock market, where we have an increase in most categories today. The Canadian dollar is down just over 1/10 of a penny. The price of gold is up $48.30. Oil is up $1.12. Natural gas is up 28 cents, and aluminum is down $1. In Toronto, the TSX is up 165 points. The Venture Index is up 1.64. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 10.26, and Nasdaq is up 14.49. Still ahead, how vineyard workers are staying in business by fighting the cold. Welcome back to our final segment. Well, we have new data on housing starts from around the country with a hopeful outlook going forward, but the federal government is still not fully satisfied with the trends. And here's Paul Hollingsworth of CTV News.
Home construction rates continue to climb, but trade concerns have caused uncertainty to hover over the Canadian housing market.
There's a need for more housing.
The annual pace of new housing construction projects, factoring in the seasonal adjusted annual rate, jumped 3% in January compared to the previous month. The 6-month overall national trend declined 2.5% last month. Communities with at least 10,000 people saw a 7% increase.
The good news is that housing starts haven't declined. The glass half empty part of it is that housing starts haven't increased as much as the federal government would have hoped.
In Canada's 3 largest cities, Montreal posted a 112% increase in housing starts compared to 12 months earlier. Vancouver was up 37%. Toronto dropped 41%. The sluggish condominium market has caused an overall slowdown in Toronto.
So there's a lot less projects that are, breaking ground.
There is currently a wait-and-see approach at play in our country. If higher tariffs are imposed, that could lead to another round of inflation. Inflation could prompt the Bank of Canada to raise interest rates, which might discourage potential home buyers.
It's going to be very different depending on the regions. If some regions, maybe there's some heavy reliance on certain industries, for example, that could have an impact on unemployment.
A key factor that could cause a slowdown in the housing construction and resale market in Canada. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Well, the year of 2023 was a tough one for the wine business in the Okanagan Valley, and workers are doing their best to ensure that devastation does not hit their vines once again. Here's CTV's Abigail Turner, who has our final story of the day.
When the temperatures plunge, Rowan Stewart turns the heat up.
If you can protect your vineyard from a winter kill event, you've probably paid for any frost protection you put in.
The Quailsgate winemaker is testing a new frost protection system similar to heat lamps on a small section of his vineyard.
Heats the vine through that light impact, so just like standing out in the sun, you're going to feel warmer when the sun's on your skin. Same with this light system.
It comes after a severe cold snap in 2023 decimated Okanagan wineries, resulting in a financial loss of $133 million throughout the province. The federal government responded with $177 million throughout the wine sector support program.
It's very important for us to keep our tasting rooms open and to keep our people employed and to keep tourism flowing in this valley. And if we've got no wine to sell, we're all going to have to shut our tasting rooms.
The system works through a generator, usually running at night, warming the vines by about 4 degrees. He believes Quailsgate is one of the first in Canada testing out the technology.
The main benefit is going to be protection of those buds, so you'll have more options for fruit for a harvest that year.
The startup costs are the main barrier, he says, at about $10,000 to $20,000 per acre, but the long-term benefits could be a major game changer for Okanagan wineries.
Saving even half your crop can pay for most systems. And last year, I think most wineries were losing all of their crop and a significant portion of vines.
Forcing growers to find ways to safeguard against climate change and its unpredictable impact. Abigail Turner, CTV News.
That'll be all for our cast tonight. Thank you very much for watching and have a good night.